She was accused of fraud simply for daring to sit in first class. But no one in that room had any idea she owned the entire airline. The humiliation she endured laid bare the deep-seated prejudice that still thrives in plain sight, reigniting wounds she thought had healed long ago. But when the truth came out, the airport turned into a stage for a reckoning no one saw coming. What happened next will shock even the most seasoned skeptics. But let's start from the beginning. The bustling airport buzzed with the rhythmic sounds of announcements echoing overhead, the rolling of luggage wheels, and the hum of hurried footsteps on polished floors. Olivia Daniels, an elegant black woman in her late 30s, cut a striking figure among the crowd. Dressed in a tailored navy suit that hugged her form with precision, her polished leather heels clicked confidently as she strode toward Gate 12. In her hand, she carried a sleek leather bag, its understated elegance a reflection of her own demeanor. Her gaze was steady, but her thoughts carried a weight of anticipation. This flight to New York wasn't just another business trip. It was a pivotal moment, a chance to present a game-changing proposal that could elevate her career to unprecedented heights. As she approached the gate agent, Olivia's poise didn't falter. She handed over her boarding pass with a polite smile, her fingers brushing against the neatly folded ticket. The agent, a young woman with sharp features and a mechanical smile, took it and scanned it. For a moment, Olivia glanced around, noting the ebb and flow of travelers, many lost in their own routines. But the agent's suddenly furrowed brow drew her attention back. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the agent said, her tone clipped. "This boarding pass doesn't appear to be valid." A jolt of confusion coursed through Olivia. "There must be a mistake," she replied, her voice calm yet firm. "I purchased this ticket weeks ago. Would you mind checking again?" The agent's eyes narrowed, skepticism creeping into her demeanor. "Please step aside," she ordered. "I'll need to confirm some details." Passengers nearby began to murmur, their curious gazes darting toward Olivia. Heat rose in her cheeks as the agent signaled for security. Within moments, 2 guards in dark uniforms appeared, their commanding presence adding to the tension. "Ma'am," one of them said, his voice stern, "we've received reports of attempted fraud. You'll need to come with us." Olivia's heart sank, but her spine stiffened with resolve. "This is a mistake," she insisted, but the guard's impassive expressions told her no one was ready to listen. As whispers spread through the terminal, Olivia felt the sting of humiliation creeping in, but she refused to let her dignity waver. Olivia's attempts to reason with the guards were drowned out by their curt instructions. The clamor of the airport faded as she was escorted into a stark, fluorescent-lit back room, the air thick with a stifling sense of authority. The room was bare, save for a metal table and chairs, its sterile surroundings amplifying the discomfort of the moment. One guard gestured for Olivia to sit, while the others stood watch, their presence silent but imposing. "Empty your bag and present your ID," the taller guard ordered, his tone mechanical. Olivia complied, her movements deliberate, her face carefully neutral. From her leather bag, she retrieved her wallet, neatly organized documents, and personal items, laying them out on the table. The guards scanned each piece with detached efficiency, as though they were searching for a hidden confession. Moments later, the door swung open and a man strode in. Derek, the supervisor, exuded an air of practiced authority, his eyes cold and calculating. He didn't sit. Instead, he loomed over Olivia, arms crossed. "We've seen this before," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "People trying to sneak into first class with forged passes. Can you even afford this ticket?" The words hit Olivia like a slap. A flare of indignation surged within her, but she reined it in, drawing on her deep well of composure. "I've done nothing wrong," she stated firmly. "Look up my ticket. It's under the name Olivia Daniels." Derek scoffed, his fingers tapping briskly at the keyboard. His dismissive glance communicated that he wasn't in a rush to vindicate her. Meanwhile, in the terminal, the spectacle hadn't gone unnoticed. A young woman had discreetly recorded the scene on her phone, posting it online with the caption, "Black woman harassed over boarding pass. Guess first class isn't for everyone." Seated in the cold room, Olivia's indignation simmered. Memories of subtle and overt racism resurfaced. The casual assumptions, the quiet exclusions, the explicit doubts. She recalled her grandmother's steadfast advice, "Never let them see you break." With her head held high and resolve tightening like steel around her heart, Olivia silently vowed to hold them accountable, not just for herself, but for every person who had endured similar indignities. An hour dragged by, the sterile hum of fluorescent lights pressing on Olivia's patience. She sat with her arms crossed, her jaw tight, as Derek avoided meeting her gaze. Then, the door creaked open, and a younger airport employee rushed in, her face pale and her hands trembling slightly as she clutched a tablet. "Mr. Derek," the woman stammered, her voice high with tension. "You need to see this." Derek frowned, irritated by the interruption. He snatched the tablet from her hands and stared at the screen. His smug expression faltered, his lips parting in disbelief. His eyes darted between Olivia and the information on the screen, panic creeping into his demeanor. "What's the problem now?" Olivia demanded, her tone sharp, cutting through the room's oppressive silence. Her frustration was palpable. She had endured enough indignities for one day. The young employee hesitated, looking as though she wanted to vanish. Finally, she turned to Olivia, her voice tinged with both awe and trepidation. "Ms. Daniels, we've confirmed your identity. You are indeed a first-class passenger." She paused, swallowing hard before continuing. "But that's not all. We've just realized you're the new owner of Sky High Airlines." Gasps rippled through the room. The two security guards exchanged uneasy glances, and Derek froze, the tablet slipping slightly in his grip. Olivia sat straighter, her calm facade unbroken, though her eyes gleamed with restrained satisfaction. The weight of the revelation hung heavy. Several months earlier, Olivia had made headlines for orchestrating a groundbreaking acquisition of Sky High Airlines. Leveraging her sharp instincts as a tech entrepreneur, she had turned the struggling airline into a burgeoning success. Her name was not just on a passenger manifest. It was on the company's masthead. "You mean to tell me," Olivia said coolly, her voice slicing through the tension, "that you not only detained me but insulted me without verifying basic information? All because of my skin color?" The room fell into stunned silence. Derek's arrogance dissolved into palpable panic. "Ms. Daniels, we deeply apologize," he stammered, his bravado crumbling. "This was all a misunderstanding." Olivia's gaze didn't waver. "A misunderstanding rooted in systemic bias," she replied, her words carrying the weight of unspoken truths. Olivia stood, her presence commanding. "A misunderstanding rooted in systemic bias," she said, her voice steady but firm. "This isn't about me. How many others have you humiliated today simply because they didn't look like your typical first-class passenger?" The young woman who had recorded the incident was now live streaming as Olivia confronted the airline staff. Within minutes, the video gained traction, with viewers praising Olivia's composure and condemning the blatant discrimination. Later that day, Sky High Airlines issued a formal statement acknowledging the incident and promising immediate reforms, including mandatory diversity and sensitivity training for all employees. Olivia herself led the initiative, determined to create a travel environment where no one would face what she endured. As Olivia boarded her flight hours later, passengers greeted her with warm applause. She took her seat in first class, her head held high. This wasn't just a victory for her. It was a step toward dismantling the prejudice that had long tainted the skies.